What you see here is an amethyst geode, and what you see coming up behind it is a very amethyst-looking platinum 3776 century Shiun. This pen kind of fell into my lap. There was a lot of hype and promotion before this pen was released, and I didn't think I would be able to get one at a reasonable price. But my friend Dan called for me anyways, and they had said that they had already had reservations for all of their allotted pens. But if I did want one, what size nib do I want? Knowing that broad nibs are not very popular here in Japan, I said broad, and then they said, yeah, well, we don't have any of those. But then Dan just called me the other day and said, hey, they have your pen. Because of the hype, I didn't want to like this pen, but yeah, I do. There are several things that are quite different about this pen from other pens that we'll talk about later. But look at it, it's like pretty. We'll start first with the unboxing and the specifics. The box has an interesting design, but it's a plain cardboard box. And here is your number out of a limited 3,776. This box is also cardboard, which was kind of strange. Everything on the inside was also cardboard except for this part there that was kind of a suede feeling. And the ribbon was just a little bit too big for the pen. Overall, the box was a little underwhelming. And then underneath you have your blotting card and your paperwork. These blotting cards are getting to be standard issue with these special edition pens. On it is the marketing material saying that Shiun are the purple auspicious clouds around Mount Fuji. It comes with a cartridge, but I killed it. At first glance, it's a pretty standard Century 3776 pen. Surprisingly, it came with a converter that matched the color of the trim and the nib. Lately, so many pens are coming without a converter, so this is kind of nice. It comes with their standard 3776 14-karat nib with the heart-shaped breather hole in Japan written on the side. This is their broad. And through the end cap, you can see your special Fuji-shaped nut along with your serial number inscribed on the back. According to an article in the Shimi no Bungu Bako fountain pen magazine, the cap ring has specially raised lettering on it. It kind of has an etched look to it. Okay, now to the fun stuff. According to the same article, this pen has something called a lens cut. Basically, it's a modified harlequin pattern. There are stacked diamond-shaped patterns, but in between there are some free-form cuts and also some tear-shaped cuts. This is sitting on a slab of obsidian. But the most exciting thing about it is that these facets are concave cut. That borrows directly from gemstone faceting. These concave cuts allow the facets to collect and reflect back more light, which makes the pen seem more sparkly. It's hard to tell that they are concave faceted until you actually handle the pen. And here you can see how much that concave faceting affects the actual shape of the pen. This pen is no different than a standard 3776 Century, but I'd like to compare it to the other models as far as the texture. These three models have a kind of striped texture, and you can see them and feel them just a bit. I think a few people have kind of complained about them being just a bit too sharp. It doesn't really bother me. The one I'm holding is a Lilas, the center one is a special Wagner Show pen, and then the one on the end is a special Shimi no Bungu Bako edition. This is the Kawaguchi, and it also has stripes, but it also has some clear sections to give it the effect of waves. Even though this pen has facets, the facet edges are not sharp, so it's very comfortable to hold. I actually feel these facets a lot less than some of the stripes on my other pens. The feel, balance, and weight of it is just about the same as any other 3776, and it weighs in at about 20.5 grams. Its length is approximately the same as a Platinum Preppy, though it is a little more girthy. Here it is in my hand, unposted and posted, and in both ways it feels very balanced and light to hold. I want to test this pen out first with a pigment-based ink. This is Tono and Lim's Lucifer from their Fixation line, which is all pigment-based inks and waterproof. It's a really interesting ink because it's going after the fashion of like Haha or 123, where it's a very light, thin ink. I've not seen any pigment-based ink like this. I'm not sure why I feel the need to show you me inking up a pen. You all know how to do it, and all you see is just the bottle in my hands. As I said, this is a very light ink. I'm not really sure what you would use it for, but it's a very pretty color, and since it's pigmented, it's waterproof. I am surprised at how thin of a line this broad pen writes. Next, I want to try it with a shimmer ink. This is a collaboration between a lady named Deep Aqua and Tono and Lims. It's a thin, light, grayish blue with just a hint of red and blue shimmer. The pen handled the shimmer ink quite well, though this ink doesn't have a lot of shimmer in it, as many of the Japanese inks don't. It handled fast, scratchy writing just fine. The overall experience was very smooth, and it doesn't have that slight amount of feedback you get on Platinum fine nibs. I prefer just a small hint of feedback. This one didn't have enough feedback for me, and I may end up stubbing this nib. And next up, I'm going to try a relatively normal ink. This is Bungukan Kobayashi's collaboration with Ken Takeda with the very fitting name of Fuji Sunrise. CY, Jacob, and I had a big discussion on whether or not you could eyedropper a pen with metal fittings. We all agreed you could do it for a little while as far as not ruining the metal, but there are some other reasons why you wouldn't want to eyedropper that kind of pen. First, we need to put some silicone grease around the fittings, and then syringe it up and fill it up. Let me take the time now to tell you, don't do this. I'll screw back on this section, and it turns out to look very nice. Seeing all that ink sloshing around inside all of those beautiful facets was quite hypnotic. But let me repeat, don't do this. Just vicariously enjoy this. Again, this wrote smoothly without any hard starts or hiccuping, and I didn't appear to have any burping from the eyedropper procedure. And it very easily handled fast scratching and writing. And there was no ink leaking out from the threads of the section. But what did happen was, after sitting around for about a day, I came back to find the pen cap absolutely filled with ink. I had some pretty seriously panicky moments there. So the final question is the pen worth it? And that's up for discussion. The price for this pen in Japan is 25% less than the standard price in the United States. I also got it from a store that if you order it ahead of time, you get 30% off the Japan price. So for me, the answer is a definite yes. For the most part, I think this will be a very popular pen, even though with COVID going on, the stores are not as crowded. As many have said, I think Platinum is trying to capture some of the aftermarket action, especially after the Loca. Loca was so popular that people just bought them and flipped them right away for a lot higher price, and that's something I'm sure Platinum would like to be in on. A lot of people seem kind of angry at these prices, but I guess I can just ask you, are you angry about Mont Blanc's prices? In the end, it's just what you're willing to pay for, and I could totally understand why many people are not willing to pay more for this pen. If you're interested in trying Platinum's slip and seal system and their slightly feedbacky 14 karat gold nib, I would suggest trying the Chartreuse Blue or the Bourgogne. They're really excellent pens and at a very good price. It is interesting to point out that Platinum made probably two of the most polarizing pens this year, both the Curados and this pen. And remember Dan? He thought the pen was pretty silly, but now he loves it, and he says it goes perfectly with the ink color Manyo Neko Yanagi. So my verdict is 2 thumbs up. Mainly for the looks of the pen, not necessarily for its function. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you again next Friday.